Hey, I'm Jay Kumar, the Bass Blaster, and this is your Seafoam Top 5 of the Week in bass fishing. Number 1. The bass fisherman formerly known as Prince. Yep, that's still him, and he's still known as Cliff Prince. He won his first blue trophy after many years of grinding on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and he won it at Wheeler Lake, Alabama, a very tough Wheeler Lake. Now, Cliff had almost 81 pounds over those 4 days. Texas's Ray Hanselman, who was in second, had, I believe, 77 pounds, and from there it dropped to 70, so those two guys, and especially Cliff, were onto something. Now, in practice, Cliff happened upon a spot in Decatur Flats. Or actually 2 spots. They were hard spots in about 4 feet of water, about as big as his boat each, surrounded by grass. He said a shad spawn was going on in there in the morning, and for whatever reason, the fish, which were good ones, hung around there all day. He caught a bunch of fish, or rather had a bunch of bites, but it wasn't easy to get them to bite necessarily, and it wasn't easy to keep them pinned. Cliff's main bait was a Z-Man jackhammer with a Bass Assassin Lil Boss swim bait on the back. And the deal was you could not reel it. He said he needed to let it hit bottom and then crawl it back with that blade barely thumping. Then the fish would pin it on the bottom. He ended up losing a bunch of fish because of that weird bite, but he still caught enough to get her done. He said he learned that weird chatterbait deal fishing the St. Johns River back home in Florida. Since he was only fishing those 2 spots all day, he did throw the kitchen sink at him, including little swim baits, but the only other thing that produced for him, and he did catch wayfish on it, was a 7.5-inch Bass Assassin tap-out finesse-style worm. He fished it on spinning gear, but with heavier line. 20-pound Seaguar Smackdown braid to 15-pound Seaguar Tatsu Fluoro. He said he used spinning gear because that's how he grew up learning how to fish a worm. Big congrats to him. Way to go, Cliff. After he won, he said he was going shopping for a... And then he's gonna... Party like it's 1999. Heck yeah, Cliff. Part A, man. Number 2. Now, you probably know the Z-Man Evergreen Jackhammer is the ultra-refined version of the OG ChatterBait bladed jig. So far, it is by far the best one. Now, the ChatterBait first got known as a killer spring bait, and for sure has been a player in just about every major tournament held so far this year. The Jackhammer version, that is. But you can see from Cliff's recent win with it, it's a summer bait too. In fact, if you ask me, it's one of the hardest baits to not pick up and fish year-round.
What's all that stuff you're grabbing?
I have to have my tools.
In fact, the ChatterBait, and especially the Jackhammer, was number 6 on the BassBlaster list of the top 10 tournament baits of all time. Here's a little more on it from that video. In 2016-17, pro anglers Brett Height and Marizo Shimizu teamed with Evergreen and Z-Man to come out with the ChatterBait Jackhammer, which to date is the gold, silver, platinum, and diamond standard in bladed jigs. It flat out crushes them.
The Jackhammer.
As we all know, that bladed jig in particular is all over tournaments because it's the bomb, man. Yes, they're expensive, but they're worth every penny. Now, you might have a different favorite bladed jig that works for you, and that's cool, but when it comes to big money tournaments, fishing a bladed jig in those, all the pros use the Jackhammer.
And that's the one, Marvin. That's the silver tuna.
Silver tuna, Jackhammer, whatever, man. It catches them. Number 3.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
You jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Ron's talking about Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour rookie Drew Gill, who won his first BPT event recently at the Chowan River, North Carolina. Even though he's a rookie, I'm guessing no one was really surprised that he won because he's finished in the top 5 of every single BPT tournament this year except for one. Here's the list. Toledo Bend, that was the first one, 3rd, then Santee Cooper, 45th, but then Dale Hollow, 4th, Eufaula, Oklahoma, 2nd, Chowan River, of course, he won that one. He also won an MLF Invitational this year, which is the next level down from the Bass Pro Tour. So if anybody's surprised by this win, they ain't paying attention, man. Now, Drew's known as a great scoper, but as I've said before, he's kind of a new cat. He's using forward-facing sonar to interpret bass behavior and then pattern the fish, not to just watch them eat, force feed them, whatever you want to call that. At the Chowan, he ditched his favorite go-to rig, the Neko rig, in favor of the drop shot because of all the stumps and other wood on the bottom of the river. But he did use a Neko rig bait, one he developed with big bite baits. It's a new one called the Nekorama. Now that 7-inch Nekorama is new for the ICAST show, aka the Fishing Tackle Trade Show in July, so look for it to be available for sale sometime after that. I gotta mention that Drew won by patterning single fish that were relating to structure, specific structure in a specific way during a water level change. That might not seem like a big deal the way I just said it, but it was. Get all the details at bassblaster.rocks or at the BassBlaster YouTube page. Now after Drew won, he was like,
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
yes, he is a big deal. Number 4. All right, when forward-facing sonar got hot and the whole casting to single fish in schools or from schools or roaming fish thing got figured out, everybody thought it would be all about that. The Demiki rig, the jig and minnow, the hover rig, the mope rig, the chicken nugget rig, whatever you want to call it. Now that deal will for sure still catch them, but forward-facing sonar and the guys who are good with it are evolving that whole deal pretty fast. Some of the younger guys love it with a jig, and some of the younger guys like Drew love it with a Neko rig. Now, it used to be that the Neko rig was just one tool in the finesse arsenal. But now with forward-facing sonar, a few guys are getting real specialized with it. Now, I'm sure that's why Big Bite Baits decided to develop this bait with Drew, a clear specialist at that technique. Here's a little more about that new Nekorama worm from the last Abu Garcia Top 5 Tips, Techniques, and Trends of the Month, called a Nekorama, made by Big Bite Baits. Now, Drew designed that worm for Neko or Neko rig fishing, and it's not the first time anybody's ever come out with a Neko worm. But Drew is known for fishing a Neko rig with forward-facing sonar. That's his favorite rig or bait for it. Here's a little hype from him about it.
This worm is a fantastic presentation for throwing on a Neko rig specifically, but also on a drop shot and shaky head. It's a check cashing worm. It's a tournament winning worm in fantastic colors and really specific design materials.
There you go. Now, a few more deals about that bait is that it has slots or little indentations for O-rings. It's built so it can also be Texas rigged well, and it will only come, I believe, in matte colors, which is interesting. New stuff is always fun, man. Number 5.
So, what do we have here?
Well, Mr. Cat, it seems like we have another big dollar pro level tournament. This one's called the Ultimate Angler World Championship, and it seems to be funded by the state of Alabama to the tune of $1 million+, including $500 grand for first place. Sweet home Alabama. I mean, a government funding a 7-figure bass tournament? That's crazy. Yep, it's that crazy. It's the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl under Jerry Jones crazy. Haha, Texas peeps. Just messing. Anyhow, the Ultimate Angler Championship tournament was announced with some details, but not all. The bottom line is it seems like it's open to everyone if you pay your $500 membership fee and you fish one of the sanctioned trails. And by the way, it's supposed to be in 2025 on Lake Guntersville. Now, ownership-wise, a key question, it seems like it'll be a non-profit run by a board, whatever that means exactly. Now, by my count, this is now the 4th big money bass tournament, 6-figure prize money bass tournament that's come out in the last year or been rumored in the last year that isn't by B.A.S.S. or Major League Fishing. Now, first was that Master Cup Fishing team style deal that was announced last ICAST show, but it didn't happen. Then that non-profit, no forward-facing sonar, $5,000 entry fee Touring Anglers Association tournament did happen on Lake Lanier, Georgia this spring, and it sounds like more of them might be coming. Maybe even this year. Then I heard about another huge money bass tournament that apparently hasn't gotten off the ground yet. And now we have this Ultimate Angler tournament scheduled for 2025. This many big money tournaments outside of the two leagues, B.A.S.S. and MLF, has never happened before in the history of bass fishing. What's going on? Well, it seems like this. Number one, forward-facing sonar. It's partly that and how that has become sort of a dividing line for tournament anglers. Number two is partly a little dissatisfaction over entry fees versus payouts at the top pro level. And number three, it's partly access to big-time money that is not from the fishing industry. What's up? Will this tournament really happen? Or more coming?
It's a mystery! It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma!
That's right! We'll find out, man! That's all I got for you this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Seafoam. Go to BassBlaster.com or .rocks to get all the juice and sign up for the juicy BassBlaster email. See you next week. God bless you.